Hello and welcome back to Cinema Spoilers with Zipp and Cam. My name's Zoe Bell-Kanapaux. I'm a 22-year-old author, and my wonderful co-host is Cameron.
Hi, I like to watch movies.
Today we watched Beetlejuice, the 1988. I think it's 1988.
I'm not sure.
I wrote this. There's an upcoming sequel after 36 years, but I didn't write what year the movie came out.
Which was the first one came out?
Yeah. So, for those of you that don't know, Beetlejuice is coming out in a few days. Once you see this is being uploaded on September 1st. It's coming out on September 6th. So, obviously, this video is coming out September 1st, and the movie's coming out September 6th. So, obviously, we will not have seen it by the time this video comes out. But, I do want to just go over the synopsis really quick, get the facts of the movie out of the way. So then we can talk about what we liked and what we didn't like.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. The synopsis of Beetlejuice. The spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that has moved into their home and hire a malicious spirit to drive them out. So this is directed by Tim Burton, and it stars Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, Michael Keaton, and Winona Ryder. And another fact about this is that this is Michael Keaton's favorite film of his own. Which, I didn't know that.
Of his own?
Yeah, that he's been in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Probably because he didn't have to sweat his balls off in a Batman costume. I mean, it's a big rubber costume. Mm-hmm. And now he gets to wear a nice suit.
Yeah, true. So I searched for like a 1-star review of this movie, could not find one.
It's such a good movie.
Well, and I think it's also one of those where it's like a classic, so people aren't gonna be like hating it.
Yeah, cult classic.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that you kind of have to watch, even if you don't like scary movies or funny movies, or you don't like movies in general, you're still going to watch it at one point in your life. More than likely.
Yeah, and I know that I've watched it before. I know that we've watched it together, but I don't think I paid attention the first time I watched it, because it was vastly different than what I remember.
Yeah.
Yes. I was just like, whoa, like, just seeing a bunch of new stuff, and I didn't know, like, the plot of the movie. For whatever reason, I didn't know. I thought the sandworms were a bigger thing.
Right? They make it a big thing, and it's not really.
I always remember the movie is, like, 50% sandworm.
Really?
And it's absolutely not 50%. It's not even 25. But, back to the reviews. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has an 82%, which I did say I couldn't find any 1-star reviews. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's like a 1-star review. It could be a bunch of 4-star reviews that lower the percentage of it. You know what I mean? So, IMDb has it listed as a 7.5 out of 10, and Metacritic is a 71%. And I wrote down mostly positive. People love this classic. I mean, I did see some criticism of it, like the practical effects and the age of the script, but I didn't see anything particularly crazy besides, like, Beetlejuice being obsessed with Lydia, which, yes, can be very problematic, and I do think it's a bit problematic. I don't know how old she is. She's, like, what, 12, 13?
Yeah, she's still in school.
So, that's gross, but
I mean, that's the whole character, is that he's super gross. And he's like that car salesman that's just gonna try and do whatever for close a sale.
You know,
that's his whole character.
It did kind of give me Matilda vibes.
Matilda vibes?
Yeah. I don't know who would be Miss Honey. I was about to say Miss Honey.
Okay.
But, yeah, so, I mean, that's the only thing that I can really think of where it was... where it was problematic, but it's also just like the character itself, everybody acknowledges that it's bad. It's not like it's, oh yeah, we let him marry her.
Yeah.
But also, so just beginning where the movie starts, I just wanted to go over a few things, because I did write down notes. Immediately after Alec Baldwin is shown on screen, he picks up a spider and then throws it out the third-story window.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'll take care of you, little guy. Throws him out the attic. What?
Yes.
I said they don't fly.
Yes, no. It's a big-ass spider.
Yeah.
And he throws it out the window. Another thing that I wrote down, because you brought it up. So, Cameron and I have always picked out... Oh my goodness, I just heard Gary's freaking tongue clicking against the microphone. Cameron and I, when we were driving around delivering groceries way back, we would always drive past these houses that were kind of gothic, kind of dark houses. Dark brick, very, very much not the style of South Texas. And we'd be like, dang, that's a sulkable house. Like, it's just the nature of a sulkable house is it's a house that you could sulk in. You could be that tortured artist in the attic, just, like...
the Edgar Allan Poe.
The Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
It was pain darkness, or darkness pain.
Dark pain.
Yeah. So, also, I wrote down, what the fuck is up with Jane, the realtor?
Oh my god.
Dude, she is awful, and then she does not show up for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
After the funeral, she doesn't, or she shows up once more to give the key. I thought she would be a much bigger character, honestly. I thought she was just going to be annoying everybody.
Just the annoying realtor.
Yeah, I thought that was her character. I wrote down quite a few other things that I'd like to discuss about this movie. First of all, I absolutely love the aesthetics. I think that even in a movie that's so old, that's 36 years old, I think it aged quite well, except for one scene, which I will talk about later.
The Tim Burton aesthetic, or...
I mean, just like the gothicness of it all. It very much reminded me, and I know that this is another Tim Burton movie, but Edward Scissorhands, the very, like, clean part of town, that's what that house reminded me of. The Beetlejuice house reminded me of, and you good, buddy? It also reminded me of, just that and the nice cleanness of it, and it also reminded me of Moral Oral, which is a show on HBO. I've never, like, quite seen it, but it's a I don't know, it's like some sort of weird animation or claymation, and the cover has the church on it. So... another thing, Adam and Barbara die because a dog, which kinda low-key looks like a mangy mutt, walked off of the plank that was holding their car up. And we both went, that's so Gary.
That's so Gary just to, like, step off the plank.
Yes.
And be like,
and
screw your car.
He's the dog right now that's licking the fucking microphone. So, and we gotta pick our battles sometimes. Like, if we stop him now, he's gonna be awful later. He's gonna be licking the windows or something.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And, I loved Adam's miniatures. I know that it's a very important part of the movie, and I've been obsessed with miniatures, like a miniature town, a miniature whatever.
See, I like the detail where, like, they're digging him out, Beetlejuice out of the grave.
That was listed way later.
Oh.
It's okay.
Pardon de me. But yeah, they're digging through the table and, like, the flooring that he just kind of stuffed with, like, cardboard, because you gotta make a little hill.
It looked like some sort of, like, it looked like a packing blanket that was in between the cardboard.
Yeah.
Or, like, some sort of, like, floor foam. Mm-hmm. Like, once you peel back the carpet, there's, like, floor foam. But he has a hardware store. So
yeah,
it's like he has access to that.
To just whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's what, he said that he carved out all all the little buildings.
Which, yeah, sure, I get, but it doesn't look carved out. I could have just believed if they had said, and I'm being so nitpicky here. I could have just believed if they had said he put them all together, or he made them, or what have you. He carved them out. I know you're looking at me like that, but it's just a nitpicky thing.
Fair enough.
I'm just being nitpicky. But I love miniatures anyway. I love looking at, like, this is what I made from a bottle cap, and it's like a toilet. I freaking love that stuff so much. I'm writing a book about it. It's called The Shrink. It comes out next year. It's about a woman who, after the death of her son, she copes by building a miniature town of the town that she lives in. She shrinks herself down to live in it. Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I also wrote #murder house because they walk out the door and they go to the sandworm realm.
Yeah.
Which I still don't quite understand. What's that supposed to be? Like, is it just the other realm?
Oh, the sandworm realm, duh.
I wish there was a little bit more besides...
A little bit more explanation other than, you should have read the handbook!
And...
It's the ultimate, like, let's get around this. We wrote ourselves into a corner. We really wanted to put these sandworms into the movie, but we weren't too sure where to put them.
Yeah.
Because they'd looked real weird on the, like, front yard, so let's just make a whole claymation world.
But then also, it's like...
Dude,
I do like it. But it's also like, I did read the newspaper where it's like, sandworm strikes again. Nothing. It didn't give me any information. So, but #murder house, because they keep going and ending up in that worm dimension. The worm dimension!
The worm dimension.
And then also, look at that kitchen. Charles says this to Delia. Look at that kitchen. You're finally going to be able to cook a decent meal. She gives him the dirtiest stank eye I've ever fucking seen. And I wrote, I too would look at you like that. If you said some shit like that to me.
Dude, for real.
I too would give you that stank eye.
In front of the movers?
Yes, too. Yes.
It's like dick.
I also wrote, Delia's sculptures are uggo. I know that that's like a main part of the movie, and like at the very end she makes the cool sandworm sculpture, but her sculptures are far uglier than is mentioned in the movie.
Yes.
Like, they make it out like, oh, it's just like kind of art. Like, it's a little weird, it's a little out
but
there.
It's uggo art.
I'm like, dude, that shit is uggo. Like, get that out of your fucking house. And then also, I love the quote, if you don't let me get out this house and make it my own. I don't remember what else she says about it, but she goes...
Oh, that she's gonna, like, scream or something like that.
Yeah, that is so me.
Mm-hmm.
That is so me. I love making a space my own, and that would be me. I would scream.
Repainting walls, doing all kinds of arts and crafts on the walls.
Yes, which can also be... I guess my sculptures could also be uggo.
You don't make sculptures.
I don't make sculptures, that's right.
So,
but I
can't be uggo if they're not made.
I do make other stuff, though. I make, like, wall hangings and shit like that. But, also, I wanted to talk about the fashion for a moment. I wrote red shoes uggo. You know exactly what I'm talking about. What is that guy saying? Ortho's ugly ass red shoes that he's wearing. He looks like an elf. He looks like, for real, he just like stepped out of the North Pole. They're a weird shape. They're like triangular shoes.
Oh yeah, because they're cut at like the ankle, right?
Yeah,
they have like a weird. Oh, they just have a weird cut right there.
Yeah, they're really weirdly cut. But then, I really loved the tied gloves as a headband, and that she's wearing one of the gloves later on in the dinner scene where they start dancing. But I really loved it as a headband, and I also loved the hat that Lydia's wearing while they're eating the Cantonese food.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, I can't believe we have to eat Cantonese food. And Lydia just has this giant veil over her head.
She's constantly wearing a veil.
She looks like she's in a mosquito net. Like, she looks like she's about to go goth beekeeping. Like,
goth beekeeping?
That's what she looks like. That's what she looks like.
Instead of using regular smoke, it's just cigarette smoke.
Oh my god. She's actually using the lady who's got her throat slit and she's like smoking and the smoke comes out of that.
Yeah.
That's what she's using. She's just like holding her arms and legs and like dragging her around. I also wanted to bring up the Beetlejuice commercial where he's on the TV and he's like, come and get your Beetlejuice! And he's all like country.
Yeah.
Like, what was he appealing to?
Them, dude. They're supposed to be the country bumpkins of Connecticut.
See,
I don't know why.
I didn't get country bumpkin. I just got, like, artist dad, small town mom.
Well, and then also it plays onto his whole, like, car salesman thing gimmick.
Yeah.
Where it's just over the top, trying to relate. Like, when he switches over clothes. Just trying to relate. Yeah. Oh, you hate them sandworms too, right?
Yeah, we shop at the same place. He puts on Adam's clothes, and he's like, we shop at the same place. I do love that scene. And I also wanted to bring up, I wrote this down as fast as I could, but I kept noticing it throughout the film, and once I saw it the first time, I couldn't stop seeing it. But as Barbara sees more dead people, and Barbara and Adam, I don't know if I said this before, they're the dead couple, just want to make that abundantly clear. Charles and Delia are the new couple that move in. So, Barbara sees more and more dead people. They go to the waiting room for the recently deceased, and she sees, like, the guy with the really small head, and then she sees someone else. She keeps making the Walton Goggins face when he's on acid. I think it's vice principals, but they're on acid, and he sees, like, this crazy face, and I'll put it on the screen now, but she keeps making that face every time she sees a new dead person. Like, the guy who's flattened out by the car or whatever they don't mention, she makes the face again. And then she just keeps making this fucking face. And I think it's so funny. I think it's so fucking funny. But then also they finally meet Juno, who is their caseworker, and she tells them about Beetlejuice. It's like, why'd you tell them about Beetlejuice?
Well, not even... She didn't tell them. They had asked, but she didn't further explain, like, why not to contact him. Just don't contact him.
Yeah, she was like, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Dude, they haven't even read their handbook yet, and you know they haven't read their handbook. So why aren't you just gonna be like, this guy's gonna ruin your fucking afterlife? I almost said life, but then it's afterlife, you know?
Yeah.
But then in the same fucking breath, instead of just, like, telling them what to do, she's like, you have to scare them, and they're like, yeah, and, like, what are we supposed to do? And she goes, like, do what you know. So they cut the sheets, they cut eye holes in the sheets, and they're, like, pretending to be ghosts, and they're like, woo, ow, 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 woo, like, all throughout the house, and
then they come back and she's like, that wasn't good enough. Well, damn, you're the caseworker?
Dude, for real. She keeps saying, like, that wasn't good enough.
And then she keeps on, I don't want to help. And it just created more problems for her.
Yeah, Juno was an awful caseworker.
It's like, just do your job the first time, and they wouldn't have had to, you'd have had to have called them back, because Ortho took the book, and that, yeah, actually, that was and the photographs, yeah.
Yeah. So, also, the photographs look fake as fuck, because first of all, and I don't know if this is, like, a super known thing, but I did find it on, like, a trivia site. The Polaroids that Lydia takes of them are Polaroids. They come out of her camera, they're instantly, processed. The next day, she is showing Delia these photographs, and they are 8x10s. They're not Polaroids.
She's got a fucking dark room in the basement to, like, print.
Dude!
She's making her own prints out of Polaroids.
And she doesn't believe her. It's like, where the fuck would you get these pictures? This isn't internet times.
Right?
Like,
this is the 80s.
Dude, and then also, they have this dinner party, and she's wearing the glove that was previously a headband. And it's going awfully. Like, this is the worst dinner party that you could have. And all of a sudden, Adam and Barbara decide, we're gonna fuck with them a little bit. And they decide to make them dance, right? And my whole thing was, it was a cool dance sequence. It was cool. But the second they couldn't immediately show a ghost, no one fucking believed them about it.
You're right. It's like, did you willingly participate in the Calypso?
What about the shrimp hands?
Yeah. So, I need more proof. What the hell do you think that was?
Yeah, that was like, what the fuck, dude? These fucking squares.
Invest your money?
And I also loved Barbara saying, Adam, why did you build that about the strip club? When have you seen, in the last, 5 months that you've been dead, living in this attic, when did you see this strip club?
Right, with all the flashing lights and
the boobies. The peace, love, and titties.
Peace, love, and titties.
Okay, I have to explain where that comes from. So the other day, I was watching an episode of American Dad, and it starts out with Jeff getting a text from Klaus the fish, and it's like, yo, Jeff, me and my boys are going down to Florida, you should come with us. But Jeff's reading it, and he's like, yo, Jeff, me and my boys are going down to Florida, you should come with us. Peace, love, and titties, Klaus? He reads it like that, so I've been saying it an aggressive amount. But the whole thing is like, Adam, why would you build that?
Yeah. Just making miniature strip clubs for all the miniature people.
It's not in the town.
Right? I don't even know where this would have been, what building this replaced.
So, another thing I wrote down as my favorite is when they're doing charades, because Beetlejuice finds Lydia. Well, Lydia walks in and sees Beetlejuice, and because she wants to, give her suicide note to, Adam and Barbara. And so she goes to, find them, and Beetlejuice is like, they're gone. And he's like, well, you can let me out. And then he's like, okay, we can play charades because I can't tell you my name. And she's like, she gets Beetle almost immediately, but then she's like, Beetle breakfast? Beetle orange Beetle drink?
Everything. Just dancing around that it was juice floating in the air, pouring.
But I fucking hated Beetle breakfast.
Beetle breakfast.
And she said it multiple times. She's like, Beetle breakfast drink? Beetle orange breakfast? And it drove me insane. It drove me up the fucking wall. I could not believe that shit. And then some stuff happens. I didn't write any notes, and I already forgot what happens in the movie. But the seance scene where Ortho was talking and...
was it the... we don't even have to worry about the... you calling them. You can't even change a tire, Ortho. Was it that you were gonna
I think so. It's when they put the wedding clothes down, and he's sitting at the head of the table, and he's reading from the handbook for the recently deceased, and they come out, and they start looking like raisins. That's my favorite scene. That's my favorite scene.
When they're starting to be,
When they're starting to be what?
What's it called? Exercised.
Yeah.
And they're starting to look like the Exorcist room, where they're just... raisiny.
Yeah. What scene was your favorite?
My favorite scene... So my favorite scene is when the dog does step off the plank. It's so ridiculous. Because my thing is, why weren't they soaking wet the entire movie? Everyone else, when they die, that's how they come back, right? But they walk into the house dripping wet, and they're able to dry off.
My question with that is,
there's a lack of consistency.
Why is Miss Argentina blue?
Yeah.
Because why would she be blue?
Why
are you blue?
Why are you blue, Jesse? Yeah, I don't know why the receptionist is blue. The, what's it called as well? The magician's assistant that was sawn in half.
Oh,
yeah, she's also blue. Yeah, the one that Beetlejuice touches her leg at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize
she's blue. And then there's also a lot of civil servant workers, that are blue. So I guess it's the people that bleed out that turn blue. Because the receptionist slit her wrists, and that's why she's a civil servant. And then, yeah, I guess if you're cut in half, you would turn blue. But yeah, I'm not too sure.
I just real quick cannot find any information as to why she's blue.
Why are you blue? It's just creative choice, it's Tim Burton.
I guess so.
I think that's the better explanation, that it's a Tim Burton movie. Why aren't they blue?
Why aren't you blue? There is a Broadway adaptation of this film created in 2016. And I have seen a lot of clips from it, which is not great. You shouldn't be bringing your phones into a theater, but, whatever. It does start off really differently from the movie, though. You want to hear about it?
Yeah, go ahead. I've never even heard of what the plot is, so.
So, Act 1, and this is straight from the Wikipedia page, I'm going to be honest with you guys. A group of people at a graveyard mourn the passing of Emily Dietz. Emily's daughter Lydia reflects on the death of her mother and her own inability to be noticed by her father, Charles. A millennium-old demon named Beetlejuice appears and mocks the idea of living life to the fullest, as it will all be worthless once death comes. Beetlejuice then addresses the audience directly, explaining that, as a demon, he is invisible to all living beings, unless he gets a living person to say his name 3 times, and reveals that he has come up with a plan to accomplish this. Beetlejuice then introduces Adam and Barbara Maitland, a normal married couple who desperately want to start a family, who are not emotionally ready, and project their insecurities onto their hobbies. As the Maitlands reason to themselves why they are not ready for a child, they fall to their deaths through unstable floorboards in their home. The handbook for the recently deceased falls from the sky, but Beetlejuice burns it, wanting the newly deceased Maitlands to haunt their house and get a living person to say his name 3 times. When the Maitlands awake from their fall and realize that they are dead, Beetlejuice reveals himself to the couple and offers to help them adjust to the afterlife. He reveals to the Maitlands that a new family, the Dietzes, have bought their house, and that in order to remain alone, they will have to scare them away, so the Maitlands accept his help. While moving in, Charles reveals to Lydia that he wants to start a gated community using the house as a flagship model home, and holding a dinner party with some business friends, Lydia expresses her desire for her mother to return, mentioning the fact that no one seems to care that she is gone. Praying for her to send a sign that she is still there, Lydia vows to make her father acknowledge the fact that tragedy struck their family. In the attic, Beetlejuice is trying to teach the Maitlands how to be scary. Despite his attempts, they prove not to be scary at all. Beetlejuice becomes frustrated with the couple and abandons them, so they vow to scare the Dietzes family away themselves. Meanwhile, Delia, a woman whom Charles hired to be Lydia's life coach and his secret lover, tells Lydia how everything happens for a reason, but fails to get her in a positive state of mind. After their session, Lydia meets the Maitlands as they are roaming the house, trying to scare the Dietzes. Lydia wants to leave the house just as much as the Maitlands want her family out, so she tries to convince her dad that the house is haunted, only to find out that he and Delia are engaged. Feeling as if Charles is just trying to replace her mother, Lydia flees to the roof, considering suicide, where a depressed Beetlejuice laments that he will never be seen. He becomes ecstatic, however, when he realizes Lydia can see him. He advises her not to kill herself, with the intention of getting her to free him from his curse. Lydia teases Beetlejuice, but does not say his name the necessary 3 times. The Maitlands come to check on Lydia, only to be possessed by Beetlejuice into saying positive things about him to further convince Lydia. Upon hearing about possession, and that any ghost can do it, regardless of skill, Lydia decides not to work with Beetlejuice, and instead work with the Maitlands to ruin Charles's party. At the dinner party, Barbara and Adam why would it say possesses? Charles, Delia, and their guests. Deo, the Banana Boat song, that's what
Yeah.
However, instead of being scared, the investors see the ghosts as a selling point, making them more interested in Charles's project. Feeling desperate, Lydia resorts to summoning Beetlejuice. Now invisible to the living and able to affect the world around him, he forces the Maitlands to the attic before throwing Charles, Delia, and the investors out of the house, much to Lydia's joy. Act 2 has a Girl Scout named Sky, and quite a few other changes, but it's very different from the movie itself, which I have seen a few, Broadway adaptations of movies, and they haven't necessarily been different. Mean Girls, the musical adaptation, is different, and I have read the script for it. It's different, but it falls to be the same. There's a bad girl and her friends, and all of that kind of stuff happens. But this one seems entirely different, almost. The only thing is that there's a house that's haunted, and there's a guy named Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
It seems to be the only things that are the same. Which is whatever,
I mean, if it came out in 2016, that means it came out nearly 30 years after the movie came out, so...
Yeah.
So it's kind of well, y'all aren't doing a sequel, so let's just do whatever we want, and surprise, surprise, sequel time!
Yeah, and I'm excited to see the sequel.
Me too.
I'm very curious, and I want to ask your opinion about this. Do you think that the sequel is going to have practical effects like the first movie did, or do you think it's going to focus a little bit more on CGI?
So from what I've seen off of set pictures, it's going to be a lot of practical effects.
That's great. I love practical effects. I think that, God, watching a movie from 2006 to 2010, sometimes even 2012, awful. It's, oh my God, you can't even get through it with the CGI, and sure, for the time it looked great, but it's you don't need a whole movie made of CGI. Right? The Planet of the Apes movies are wild. They are wild. And they are quite awful with their CGI. So, I'm very excited to see this renaissance of practical effects, or at least a renaissance of people appreciating practical effects. Any last words that you have to say?
Hopefully Beetlejuice 2 is way better than the first movie. I mean, it's not hard with modern whatever, but modern tech, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm excited for the new movie to come out.
You think it'll be good?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good movie.
Yeah,
I think so.
I've been excited for quite a while. And we made this podcast because we like movies. This is the second ever episode of it, so like the long-winded podcast, this will get better. But I just wanted to bring a little something up, because this podcast would not be able to happen without my lovely books that I write.
Yes.
And I have a book coming out on October 30th that deals exactly with films. It's called Double Feature. And let me read the synopsis to you real quick before we go. A trip to the movies turns feral when 10 individuals are trapped within the auditoriums. An apocalypse caused by corporate greed leaves 6 children, 2 theater workers, a couple, and a mortician scrambling to figure out how to survive off stale popcorn and candy bars. How much of the world is left? What can be done to prolong their lives? Why are things so eerie within the concrete walls of the picture house? Find out in double feature. Now, as you're listening to this, hopefully you're listening to it the day it comes out, or you're listening to it the day that my book comes out, or even further into the future. But right now, on my Ko-fi, that's www.ko-fi.com/ZoeWritesBooks. You can find the first chapter of Double Feature up on my Ko-fi. There you can also read all of my free blog posts, all of my updates, and you can watch episodes of the Long-Winded Podcast and cinema spoilers a week before they air on YouTube. So yeah, go check it out. It's great. Also there you can buy autographed copies of my book and a bunch of other exclusive merchandise. So I hope to see you guys over there, and thank you again for tuning in to Cinema Spoilers with Zipp and Cam.